Good morning.
Welcome to Comfort Zone. I'm Chris Lawley. No, I'm Matt. I'm doing the intro, even though all three of us are here, and it's only because Chris is coming to us live from California, as I guess he always does, but without his studio quality mic. Except...
Excuse me. Apple would disagree. These are studio quality microphones. I am coming to you live not from the center of California, but Northern California, because I am on the ground floor in my hotel room. Because my two co-hosts decided to start this recording at 6 a.m. Apple Park time.
I don't know what you're talking about. It's 3 p.m.
And it's Apple Park doesn't open up for me until 7. So I was gonna do a whole bit where I was filming or recording the podcast at Apple Park and probably gets told by security at some point to stop. But yeah. But I'm in my hotel room.
Mm-hmm.
Well, welcome, Chris. Thank you for making it. We're also joined by Niléane. Niléane, how are you?
Hello, I'm fine. Finer than last year's WWDC.
Ooh, excellent.
I was sitting there watching this keynote and I was like, this is Niléane's iPadOS 26.
No, I don't think so.
But she got it a lot quicker than what I got iPadOS 26.
I don't
Niléane,
Like
you had to wait
I've
1 year.
literally been telling...
Yeah.
1 year.
Yeah, I had to wait a 10. I was telling some Apple people, I'm like, this is the first time going into a WWDC I'm not stressing about the iPad.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's a first.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should just get into it and talk about some of the things at WWDC. We have a loose outline, but I wanted to start by saying this was a weird presentation for someone who's used to it being a certain way, where they have a title card that says this is the platform and here's the features. And those features happen to be on everything anyway, but that's how they broke it down. And this year, they were like, here is Chris's appleOS 27, and it is the same on everything. All these features are everywhere, and we're literally not even going to talk about any differences. We're just going to show the things off. So, Chris, do you feel vindicated?
I do. That word cloud slide of like, here's all the features, and even that's still not everything. I took that, I threw it into Codex, had Codex basically break all the features up and sort it, and a vast majority of them are on every platform. There are some that are only on one, there's some that are on two, there's some that are like iPad, Mac, and iPhone, but not watch and tvOS. tvOS did get 7 new features, by the way. We could spend an hour talking about that.
Sure.
I know you guys would rather spend an hour talking about corner radiuses. I saw that and I was like, oh God, that's all Comfort Zone's going to be for the next 6 months. But yeah, no, like it's not the Apple OS in name, but it's definitely like I see the trajectory. Like I really do think like at some point, like Darwin and all that stuff will need to be updated for the next phase of technology. And at that point, why build 3 separate OSs?
Why would you update the theory of evolution, Chris?
Because Darwin, that dude was nuts.
Are we canceling Darwin now? Oh no.
Yeah, it seems
Yeah, hashtag cancel Darwin.
I love when the episode title just so clearly happens right at the start. This is good. Okay.
Can I say something?
Please.
Okay. I don't really care about your outline. Sure, but yes, it's fine.
I assumed yes.
Yes. But what I want to say is I would like, so this is like an official statement. Picture me in front of like a podium or something. I would like to extend a symbolic, massive middle finger to everyone last year who has kept telling me that, oh no, the floating sidebars are fine. They're really nice. They look nice, actually. You should just get used to it. And when I was making arguments on Mastodon as well as on this show about how it doesn't make sense in terms of both user experience, but also like in terms of visual coherence to have a floating sidebar, People were like, no, 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 you don't understand Apple's geniuses. They know what they're doing and blah, 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 blah. So massive middle finger to you all. I still love you, but still. And yes, now what are you going to do? What are you going to do, you all? What are you going to say now that Apple itself has agreed with me and decided that yes, it sucked and we should revert that? Floating sidebars? No, 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 no. Nobody wants that.
I
I mean,
I love vindicated Niléane.
Yeah.
yeah. You got floating sidebars. You got a slider. You got my video just froze for some reason because hand reactions happened.
No, no. You're still good
Oh,
for us.
that was
Don't worry.
weird.
Don't worry.
Okay. Okay. All right. That was weird. But you got floating sidebars are gone. You got corner radius is fixed. You got a slide bar for liquid glass, to the point where if you slide it all the way to the other end, I think one of you said in our group chat, sorry, I haven't caught up this morning. I literally jumped in the shower, threw on clothes, and jumped on the call. It's very early here, but one of you said it looks like Tiger, right?
That's
Was
Steve
that?
Trouter Smith on
Oh, okay.
Mastodon, and I think I agree. Like
Hmm.
they've also updated the look of the buttons generally and the fields. So now they have like the way they shine is very different from last year. It looks very bubbly, much more like bubblier than last year because last year, I mean in Tahoe and 26, all the buttons are flat. Like when they're against a white background, especially, or even a dark background, the buttons are all flat. Now they have some kind of 3D aspect to them, even when they are on top of nothing, basically. And it looks a lot like the Aqua buttons of old. They look. Somebody said on Mastodon they look clickable, and yes.
Yeah.
Lickable.
I will
Okay.
say I'm this computer is not on the beta yet.
Oh.
What?
But my
Oh.
MacBook Neo is, my iPhone is, my iPad is, and my Vision Pro are. And
Yeah.
I messed around with the slider and I tried some things out. And I am currently using them all on maximum transparency, which is still better
Whoa.
than normal transparency last year. And it's because of those
Really?
things. Yeah, they are doing whatever they're doing with the refraction of the stuff behind. It is easier to read. If it's a problem for you, you can still slide it and it'll be like super opaque, and that's fine. But for me, there aren't as many issues with it. Maybe I'll find more as I use it more, but like the initial reaction is actually this is better. And a low key thing that has made it much nicer is there's a little outline around every button
Yeah.
now that is I think it's supposed to just look like the glass kind of falling off, but it's just an outline, and that
There's a
goes a
border.
long way to making it more defined and just feel more like I don't know
Mm.
buttons in an
Yeah.
interface, which they're supposed to be. And the low key best thing is that stupid thing last year where there were these like in the toolbar the buttons were just floating and all your
Hmm.
content would go under them and they would like fade and it would kind of like be this gradient fade that was just horrible. Now there's a fixed line with a background that even on the maximum transparency is pretty darn opaque, so your buttons are legible. It's a small thing, but it goes
I
a long
think
way.
I was listening to ATP this morning, and John Syracuse has said, "Turns out toolbars need to look like bars." Yes.
Yes.
But yes, the way
Yeah.
they were dealing with, so in 26 the buttons, they did not have an outline, and the way they were dealing with that is massive drop shadows around everything.
Yes.
I'm opening Finder right now. The buttons in the toolbar, they all have massive drop shadows, and that's the only way that you were able to tell that there's something there. So now, and I've looked at many screenshots yesterday and today. It seems like all the drop shadows are gone, at least for those elements, the buttons and the fields and the toolbar elements, etc. The shadows are gone. It's just a thin outline, and it does the job well.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's the case. Again, I don't have that one in front of me, but
Yeah.
I took a screenshot earlier and I am pretty happy. Pretty happy with it.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the iPad even became a little more Mac-like this year as well?
Yes.
The menu bar is now shifted, it's left aligned, and you can set it up so that the menu bar items are always present. But for some reason, I either don't understand how that's working or it's broken in the beta for me because if I toggle that setting, they still disappear. So
Mm.
I have a briefing later today that I will ask about that. But yeah, all they need to do is move the time and date over to the right side, and it's just the Mac menu bar at that
It's
point.
kind of weird that they did this and kept the time on the left.
I know. I kind of thought the same
Yeah.
thing. I kind of thought the same thing. I really wouldn't be surprised if next year it moves over, or even maybe in the middle of this beta it moves over. I really wouldn't be surprised. Um, but I really like it not being, all in the center now,
Hmm.
Yeah.
and it's a little smaller too. It's just my eyes, and I'm not comparing it. I don't have another iPad here to compare it to, but it seems like it's a little more compact and in line with the menu bar, and not just kind of like this tacked on thing. It feels more like it's supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Nice. If we can delay the AI talk briefly,
Okay.
it's so obvious that we have Touch Max coming this fall, right?
Oh my God. Touch Max and the dual screen iPhone. If you look at the technical stuff, there's drawing in notes, drawing in freeform on the Mac. There's what was it? Sidecar,
Side,
better
yeah. When you're using Sidecar,
touch support.
when you're using Sidecar to be a second display for your Mac, you can just touch it and swipe around everything just like you could if it was the
Yeah.
Mac screen itself. And then yeah, the iPhone. They were like, well, now you've got your iPhone here, and now like, just what if it got like twice as wide all of a sudden? What would that be like?
So
And
now you can
yeah,
resize and iPhone mirroring. If I
iPhone
got
mirroring too.
correctly.
That was
Yeah.
surprising.
Hmm.
So you
Even
can
if you're
resize
Yeah.
iPhone mirroring, and so whatever app is running on your phone will just have a wider aspect ratio, and yeah.
Mhm.
And
And
sorry, and in 26,
you
I
can
saw
all
that
oh
they added landscape orientation to a bunch of system apps as well.
Mm.
So like Apple Music, Files,
uh
etc.
sorry if I keep talking over you two. There is a massive
Yeah, I
delay
figured.
on
No
my end.
worries.
Uh I'm on hotel Wi-Fi. There's it is what it is. But iPhone apps on the iPad now can be resized as well, and not just like blown up. They can be like reshaped. So that's kind of cool. It's still a little funky. Like developers should really just make an iPad app. Looking at you, Notion Calendar. Um, I would like to use you, but iPad. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and again, iPhone apps are iPad apps. iPad apps are iPhone apps. So this will just happen. You don't even need to update.
And they're Mac apps as
And they're
well.
Mac
And
apps in a lot of cases,
yeah,
yes. But yeah, it's super obvious. It's happening, and everyone will be happy. And I will get my vindication. Oh, Chris, you got the iPad last year. Niléane, you're getting Liquid Glass this fall. And if I get Touch Max, it'll just be a happy comfort zone.
yeah. What will we have to complain
We'll
about?
find people know we'll find something
Oh
to complain
boy,
about.
we'll have to. It's still Apple.
Okay. Should we move on to Apple Intelligence? Do we want to complain?
Please,
Ma-
I have a lot to
Maybe
say.
one
Unless-
quick thing before
Okay.
we do that, so it's out of the way. They had a whole section in the keynote about they called it trust and safety, I believe, trust and whatever.
Yes,
Uh,
yeah. The child
yeah,
protection.
and they unveiled a bunch of like massive, if I understand correctly, enhancements to the how you can limit the screen time of your children, and how you can impose more limits on like child accounts, which you can gradually upgrade over time when they age up. Now there's the ability to restrict websites as well, if I understand that correctly as well. None of this has been tested by anyone, so I'm just citing of Apple from the keynote. Anyway, so all of this is just iterations, pretty big iterations to be fair, over what's been there before, and I just can't help but worry about like the political discourse that they've been using in that presentation. For example, they kept saying things like "Who knows best than parents?" Well, who knows best than parents to for their children. Um, there's also one point one of the presenters said, "Yeah, parents know." Something along that line. I don't remember specifically, but anyway, um, and that's the kind of this is a discussion we already had on the show, right? When we talked about age verification, I think I'm worried about this for kids. I cannot even begin to imagine what kind of life I would have had if my parents had that kind of power over me when I was a kid. And yeah, I saw a bunch of people on Mastodon say the same thing. Like massive, uh, massive worry around this, where especially when talking about marginalized kids and queer kids and etc. And the phrase "parents know best what's best for their children." Yeah, somebody posted this quote on Mastodon and with a line underneath. Queer kids have entered the chat. Like, if you're a queer kid, yeah, there's obviously some families are accepting and it's great, but some families are not. And then if you're a queer kid, no, your parents probably don't know best what's best for you. Anyway, so just wanted to mention that. Yeah, I think it's worrying that Apple has fallen into this narrative like they've had before, but now it's more prominent. And I think it's also because they're trying to come before all of the massive policy changes around the world.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough thing. If you have a kid with a phone or an iPad, like, you don't want them necessarily exposed to the entire internet all the time,
Yeah.
and you don't necessarily want them messaging strangers, and like, so there are reasonable limits. And I think, especially from a US centric mindset, there's definitely the idea that we don't want people outside the family making decisions, like government bodies, for example. We definitely lean more towards, yeah, parents making decisions and everything. But like you said, there is a line where they don't always know best, right?
Yeah.
For a lot of kids, they do, and like, each family has their own rules and systems and everything. But yeah, so I don't know how you balance that perfectly. The thing that kind of got me was the website limits, like you could set it up so you can approve every single website they go to, which seems a little crazy. And like, I can't imagine as someone as a kid how I would deal with that. But I mean, you do like a Google search and then you like open 5 tabs, right? And like, is that 5 notifications to your parents? Like, they want to access all these websites and like, you don't even know what's on that website yet. It's a little crazy. So we'll see how it works in real life. Like, none of us have kids, so it's a little hard to, for me at least, to have a super strong opinion on it. But I definitely
Speak for yourself. I have Riley.
Sherman has no limits on his iPad, of course.
Whoa, he's just buying all the microtransactions.
He is. So I think it's kind of one of those like impossible problems to get right for everybody. So I hope they navigate it well so that it protects without endangering or restricting kids. So I don't know what the solution is, but I was surprised it was like a third of their presentation, though.
Yeah,
that was surprising.
I think that's what I'm worried about the most, because it always used to be something like this kind of features, but that it's become like a first level title in the presentation, and also like I said, the discourse that they use to justify and present the set of features that was worrying to me. But yeah, we can move on to AI. I think we'll talk about it more when we have more information.
Yeah.
I got 6 minutes left, guys, before I have to bounce.
Okay.
All right.
What do you want to talk about, Chris?
Can I just round off like just rapid fire a few things that I've learned that are pretty interesting?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So the new on-device model has let me pull it up here, has a 20 billion parameter uh, context window. This is up from the 4 of the previous one. That's why the RAM increase happened. Like you have to have 12 gigs of RAM to run this new the high end on device Siri AI. Um, and the stuff I've seen so far, and I've only had I haven't had the full Siri AI briefing yet. I've had the Apple Intelligence briefing, and this is where it gets really confusing. But the stuff I've seen so far from the on-device model, very impressive. Like I'm actually really impressed with it. The new shortcuts stuff is interesting. Shortcuts now defaults when you hit the plus button to create a shortcut, it now defaults to the natural language input, so that it you just type in what you want the shortcut to be, and it'll build it for you. For simple shortcuts and kind of like intermediate shortcuts, simple shortcuts, it should get it in one shot, like no problem. Intermediate shortcuts, it might get it in one shot. You might have to go into the editor and like fix a couple of things. Um, and advanced shortcuts, it falls down. Like if you tell it to
Mm.
make Federico's Apple frames, it ain't gonna do that. If you tell it to make my snippet cut shortcut, it's not gonna do that. From what I understand, and this could be wrong because I've gotten mixed information, but the reliable information that I have heard is that this doesn't work with third party actions. And I haven't had
Oh.
a
Ooh.
chance to fully test that. In fact, actually, let me see if I can just test that right now.
Oh, that's
Um,
strange.
um, but let's just test it right now. Let's do it live on air. M- Make a shortcut so that wait, do I have to do this on this machine still? Nope. What's a make a shortcut so that I can enter an event for Fantastical. All right. So let's see if that works. I should have tested that before, but it's been a crazy. Guys, I didn't leave Apple Park until 8:30 last night. I got there at 7:30 a.m. and I didn't leave until 8:30. Okay, so I told it about Fantastical, and it said to create a shortcut using that app, you will need to use the editor. So it does not work with third-party
Oh.
apps.
Or maybe
Interesting.
does that maybe mean that the developer needs to update something?
Maybe, but I mean, all the actions are there. Like, if
Yeah.
this was an on device thing, it would be able to just see what actions were on device
Yeah.
and and go from there. The other thing I was told, but I haven't figured out how to make it happen, is that you should be able to create extensions on
In Safari.
iPad and iPhone too
In Safari?
in Safari.
Yeah.
But I haven't figured out. I think that person might have been confused because I haven't figured out how to do that just yet. And if again, I have had very, very little time to do anything with this.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be in the first developer beta, that functionality at all.
Oh, so it's not even in the Mac OS beta
Oh,
then?
Nope.
yes. I think I've seen it. I've seen people use it actually on the
Oh,
Mac.
have you? I
On
could not
Reddit.
find it.
Yeah, I saw some screenshots of it.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it is. This is all
Okay.
still
All
fresh.
right. We'll report back. We'll,
Yeah.
we'll we'll figure that one out. There was some other stuff that I am pulling up right now that if you give me 2 seconds, I will have it for you. Um, one more cool thing about shortcuts. Well, cool-ish, and I'm kind of annoyed about this. So the automations tab in shortcuts, you could no longer create new automations in the automations tab. There is no window for you to pick a trigger. In order to create a background automation in shortcuts, you have to do the natural language input, and you have to be, when I get home, turn on these lights. But there is some new there is some new triggers, one of which is when your iPad pairs with a keyboard or disconnects from a keyboard. So now I have an automation set up. So whenever my iPad pairs to a hardware keyboard, it turns on the window mode. Whenever it disconnects from a hardware keyboard, it turns off the window mode. So
Wow.
that's honestly, I think that's actually should just be a setting. Like that should be something there. But um, yeah, that's pretty cool. Um, Animation speed, it's not just animation speed, they actually made some tweaks to like performance and stuff like that, so that when you open and close apps, when you're switching windows and stuff like that, things are faster in iPad OS. Like there's a bunch of like tweaks and stuff to basically make all the OSs feel faster. There is undo and redo home screen edits, but it's just on iPad OS. It's not on iOS. I don't know
Oh,
why.
really?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
iPhone not getting the respect it deserves yet again.
It just doesn't do much for them. I'm all over the place. I know. Shortcuts now has else if actions. So it's you. So all those nested if actions, you can kind of clean that
Oh,
up. There's also the ability to store data in shortcuts. So I'm going to rebuild a bunch of shortcuts over the summer, so that instead of using an app like Data Jar or something like
yeah.
that, where you have to open it in order to get it to sync with shortcuts, shortcuts will now just be so you could theoretically build a proper clipboard manager now
Where
with
does it save
shortcuts.
that? In the Shortcuts app itself?
I believe it's saving it in the Shortcuts app.
Okay, interesting.
Um, the in Mac OS, there is now HDR support for Mac OS System UI. So Matt, your
Ugh.
and I's monitors. Actually, I think this is a good thing. Let me explain. Right now, so that fancy monitor I got, if I plug my iPad into it, it supports Dolby Vision. If I plug my MacBook Pro into it, it does not. So this should bring. I'm hoping this means it's bringing Dolby Vision support to the Mac, but again, it's not something I've been able to test. All I know is HDR for Mac OS System UI. There's better ultra wide monitor support. So if you have an ultra wide monitor and use it with the Mac, you can do that. And they've added swipe down to refresh to a bunch of apps like Mail, Safari, stuff like that in Mac OS.
That'll make a lot of sense for your touchscreen Macs coming this fall.
Hmm. Yeah, they're kind of like they're not even trying to hide it. Like
This is, yeah, I mean,
this is stuff they could have added later, but
yeah, I've lived through a lot of these. They sneakily put something that indicates a future hardware. This year is very direct. Yeah. Well, Chris, I know you have to go.
yes.
You hate us.
No, I'm sorry. My schedule is wild. I literally have to I have to throw my shoes on, pack my backpack, and go to Apple Park to meet with the ADA developers,
With
the ADA
your
winners,
better
and
friends.
briefings.
It's a tough life.
Yeah.
Look, did I record app stories yesterday with John,
There you
Federico, and Mike
go.
Hurley inside Apple Park all together? Yes, I
You
did.
both are leaving me. Like Matt also recorded something with somebody else.
And he
Yeah.
used comfort zone property to do it too. All of a sudden, I'm getting emails from Riverside. Matt Birchler's recording is ready, and I'm like, I'm not Matt Birchler. Why are you telling me this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't
I'll
realize you got
fork
emails for
the
that.
show at some point.
If you make any money off that, we're owed 10%.
Oh,
We
here's the
want
great news. That
manager
podcast
fee.
makes no money.
Okay, all right. Well, there you go. All right. I hope you guys had a great WWDC. Thank you for letting me crash in and hijack. And I can't wait to listen to the rest of the show.
Sure,
Awesome.
bye.
Have fun, Chris.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye.
Okay, so that guy was annoying. Glad he's gone. um,
Um,
do we want to talk about Siri AI? Apple Intelligence.
we can. I know it's unavailable in the EU, so you will.
I have stuff to say about that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Let me say the good stuff and the bad stuff. I think the good stuff, the password reset, is a cool use of agentic browsing in
That's
a way that
cool.
all the other agentic browsers are like archive some emails. book plane tickets, but you're obviously not going to use it for that. So that's a cool thing. Although in the UI, I tried to play with it. It seems to be an all or nothing thing. So it has like 97 sites it wants me to make a change on. And the only option is to fix 97 sites, which is not a button I necessarily want to hit. But that's cool. The shortcuts, Chris talked about it. When you start a shortcut now, it does default to just like describe what you want. You can still go to the old interface, but like it does default to just tell us what you want us to make. And then on the not so good side, I don't love the photography stuff that they're doing with the expand and the reframe. Like cleanup, I can be okay with, especially because it doesn't do a great job at adding content. It's cleaning up like something from the background or like whatever. I'm not super upset about for whatever reason, but this idea of like actually reframing a photo and like I thought their example sucked as well. Like it was a perfectly fine photo of this guy's kids, and then he changed it into another photo that was equally just fine. But with the without the benefit of being the actual thing that happened, which is I don't love. I think I saw John Syracuse, second Syracuse reference. I saw him post on Mastodon, like in the next year's version, they'll let you like replace the kids with better looking kids and everything. Like, why do I have to settle for my kids? Why can't these be different?
Yeah, I saw.
It just
on
weirds me
Reddit-
out.
I saw on Reddit again somebody like screen recording this new reframe and extend features in photos. So there's two things. First, this is like straight up from the future. Like the way it looks and it works is very impressive. Like this is
Oh yeah,
like a video game engine on the fly that's using your photo as a frame of reference and just building like an entire space around your photo. This is incredible. Second, this is I agree. This is gross as heck. What is? I would understand it better if this was like in image playground where you are generating a scene or whatever. Like you're generating a 3D scene and you can put whatever you want in that 3D scene and edit it and move it around and whatever. But to start from a place of what's supposed to be reality, that is your photos, and just create an alternative realm all around it. I think this is not good.
yeah. I was watching at home with my wife on the couch as well, and she's not super interested, but I was on the TV, so she was watching as well. And at this point, both of us kind of looked over each other and were like, "Oh, that's gross." Like it is. Ugh. Using it, it does. You aren't able to like totally like spin the camera around like 360 degrees or anything. No. So they are kind of minor adjustments, but even still, it's weird. They don't do text very well. I had a picture of like a car that I took that had a no parking sign that was slightly obscured, and I reframed it to like so that the sign would be visible, and it just gave me like 2 years ago like AI text, you know, like what it would do.
Alien out.
Yeah, like it's crazy what it generated. So I mean, obviously that'll get better, I guess, but like it is, I don't love it. I don't love the idea of these edits, and they didn't talk about it, but like Google has like there's like these standards that are being trying to set up to where to like label things as AI enhanced or adjusted, and I don't think Apple said anything about those, so I don't know if they're doing anything. Like,
oh, that's true. Like,
if I reframe a photo and I post it somewhere, is there any indication that that was edited? I don't know.
oh, good question.
That's the thing to look up, I guess.
You would not know without a label for sure.
No,
I mean,
especially like the minor ones, you'd have no idea.
Yeah, you have an idea. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
I also saw somebody mention something I agree with is like Apple doesn't talk about like consent either, because they're advertising how you can. So there's the photo editing stuff, but there's also you can generate things with your friends and contacts and family,
Yeah.
and like there's no process at all for them giving consent before you do that, it seems, and
Yeah.
that's not great either.
It is a little crazy. Like that feels like a very Apple-y thing. Like to be like because in photos it knows who you are,
Yeah.
and then it has like the faces that you've saved and everything. But like I feel like if it's not a face of you, then yeah, it should like require some sort of request permission thing.
It would seem like something they would do.
Totally. So
Yeah.
it is a little surprising. Yeah, it just gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Yep.
Also, that was another. Their AI demos are just so bad. Any of their image demos are just so terrible. It was like a birthday invitation where they put this woman in like an investigator's coat and like had
Oh,
like little
right.
cake
Yes,
in
I
front of her,
remember.
and like it was like the saddest looking like version of this person you could possibly imagine.
It was like an
just
Interpol shot. Like they,
yeah. Yes.
they have a search warrant
It was
on them.
yeah, it wasn't come to my fun party. It was like, please save me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I don't know. The image stuff really, really weirded me out. The just like Siri updates where like the new animation and stuff is fine. It does do some of the stuff. Like I asked it like to pull some information from inside apps and it did it, and it's conversational so you can keep talking to it, and your chats go into the Siri app and you can resume them there. So that's kind of cool if you asked it something and kind of forgot what it told you, or if you wanted to do something else with it. And it syncs across your devices. So if you do something on your iPhone, on your Mac, you'll have it there. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, haven't had enough time to play with it to really get a full impression. And obviously no third-party apps do anything with it yet, so it's hard to tell.
Yeah, I like the design. It looks clean and not over the top, unlike like the glow that they introduced with Apple Intelligence. That looked nice, but also I could see how they could that would age quickly because
Yeah.
it's very colorful, very in your face.
Yeah.
This is more discreet.
It is actually a weird experience because the glow, the around the screen glow is gone. That's completely gone.
Yeah.
So after you install the new update, you actually go back to getting that like purple orb at the bottom of the screen. And so I thought like, I was like, oh no, I got like downgraded with Siri. But you have to like join the wait list, and once that's through, you get the new Siri. But yeah, it is kind of
so you
weird
mean
to
say
like.
I'm going to have the orb back because I'm not
The
getting,
orb is coming back, yes.
and I'm not getting the new Siri either. So okay, I'll just be stuck with the orb. That's fine.
Yeah. I do have to correct our good friend Chris.
Okay.
I think he mixed up parameters in a model and context window in a model. The local AI model has the exact same context window as before, which is 4,000 tokens. The private cloud has 32,000 tokens, which all developers have. Developers with less than 2 million downloads of their apps have access to, which is good because that's the better model. But the context window is 32,000, which is teeny tiny. I've put in, for some context, I put in a chart into our show notes of like how that compares to the Claude models, and like it's not even close. Sonnet has done 200,000 for years, and Opus is at 1 million now. But the good news is the average Comfort Zone episode, which is an hour long, is about 20,000 tokens. So all of the things I do with like quick subtitles and chapterize, I can do that in private cloud now because I do not have 2 million users, and I can just use that for free, which is cool. So I'm very happy about that.
Okay.
But I've been watching those sessions, and it's weird. You got unlimited use of the on-device model. Of course, you always have. But for the cloud one, the limit is based on per user. So each user can use the cloud model for a set amount of time. And if you have iCloud Plus, you get more usage. but it's unclear exactly what those limits are. So it should be fine. I suspect those are just there to avoid like abuse, but I am happy about it because I can do some more things with their model, which I couldn't do before.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about the EU and Apple Intelligence?
Yes, let's talk about the EU.
Okay.
So, because that was very interesting. So, in the video itself, like in the keynote itself, Craig addressed it like right away, orally. He said, we're deeply disappointed. We'll not be able to bring it to the EU, blah, blah, blah. Very short and sweet. Then right when the keynote ended, I got a push notification and a press release dropped. They pressed, like the Apple dropped the press release. That was the first one they dropped, I believe. Even before the iPadOS, iOS. First drop of press release is due to what was the head? Let's look up the headline again of their press release. Due to DMA, Siri AI delayed in EU for iOS 27 and iPadOS 27. So this does not affect macOS and visionOS and watchOS, I suppose. And yeah, and their press release, have you read it? Incredible piece of media, this press release. Basically, this is like... it makes me so mad. Anyway, the press release basically is... So they expose their argument for why they're not bringing it to the EU. Basically, it is the EU Commission, for us to be in compliance with the DMA, wants us to give any third-party AI system unlimited access to a user's device. So that means... So Siri AI does all of this stuff that's integrated into the OS, integrated with the apps, it uses your private data and all of that. And to bring that to the EU on iOS and iPadOS, because we're considered a monopoly there and we're forced to add interoperability. Yeah, the EU wants us to give that access to third-party AI, and we don't do that because we respect our users' privacy. So that's their argument. And they also said in the press release, which is very interesting, we proposed a technical solution that we would roll out over an 18-month period, and they said no. So basically, they went to the EU Commission and said, so we have a solution, which we call it the trusted... I want to look up that name again. They call it the Trusted System Agent. I'm quoting them again, an intermediary that would allow virtual assistants to safely access the same features and capabilities as Siri AI for devices in the EU. So basically like a middleman for third-party AIs to work like Siri AI on iOS and iPadOS in the EU. Okay. And they said, the EU Commission said no. So when you come out reading this, you're like, well, the EU is an asshole. What the heck? What do you mean? They want to force Apple to let the users' data free? Or I don't know.
Sure, that's what it sounds like.
That's what it says. Even it's not what it sounds like. They're saying. Remember, the quote was, I'm quoting them, the EU Commission wants us to give any AI system unlimited access to a user's device. This is a quote from the press release. Okay, so when you look into it and you think for 2 seconds, but my first thought last night, before we had any additional context, my first thought was, so it's a take, like it's my opinion. What really happened is with Siri AI, Apple, they decided to develop a brand new OS feature that's central to the OS, that's central to many of the new features. They decided to develop that knowing that it would not meet the DMA requirements, Why do I know that they were knowing that? Because they've been subjected to the DMA now since 2023. So it's been 3 years. So there's no way. We know that they started work on this like last year, a year and a half ago. So obviously they were already under the DMA. They knew the requirements they had to meet, and yet they decided to move on, is what I'm seeing. And then they went to the EU Commission with this proposal of a technical solution. And they said, look, it's not ready, but we would have to, and since it's not ready, we would have to roll this out over an 18-month period. And my opinion is the EU Commission was like, lol, what do you mean you plan to disobey the DMA again for the next 18 months, even though we already fined you for the fact that you were not in compliance for the DMA under the DMA on many counts. And the end of the story, Apple releases this press release because they'd rather show that the EU is being mean to them than actually find a way to release Siri AI at the same time everywhere in the world. Yeah, and just before we started recording, the EU Commission held a press release, as they do, I believe, every week or every morning. And so in a press briefing today, as we're recording on the 9th, EU Commission spokesperson Thomas Régnier stated that Apple was simply unable to develop interoperability solutions that meet essential EU privacy and security standards. So like they're saying the contrary to Apple here. Like they're saying Apple was not able to develop a solution that meets our security and privacy standards. So we have completely opposite discourses here on either ends. And he also says, which confirms my take from last night, he also says that basically that the inability to release Siri AI in the EU before 18 months while being in compliance with the DMA was a no-go for them, basically. And so looks like I'm right. Looks like basically the EU Commission was like, okay, so you're telling me that you just spent a year and a half developing this major new central OS feature, knowing that you would not meet the requirements that you're supposed to like respect, and you're telling me you don't want to respect it for the next 18 months, a next year and a half, even though we already fined you. And yeah, so anyway, I just wanted like to present the full thing here, because I'm feeling that some commenters out there, I'm already seeing the headlines from yesterday. Some people presenting this news that are like, oh, EU, the EU is being mean to Apple, blah, blah, blah. Like, Apple is not saying, I think Apple is not being truly honest, or at least they're being purposefully deceitful about the full story here. And yeah, the EU, they're not going to flinch, it seems, anyway. So, yeah. What do you think?
I mean, it is a little. It is interesting that the DMA has been around for a while and this feature was developed and doesn't seem to have taken it into account. Yeah. I don't.
That seems what's blocking the EU Commission from agreeing to their proposal.
Yeah.
I'm guessing, like, and also the wording in Apple's press release is interesting because they're saying the EU Commission said no. And they say this right after they said, we plan to roll out a solution over an 18-month period. So they make it sound like, I'm not saying they're lying, I'm saying maybe it's purposefully written in that order. It sounds like the EU Commission said no to the technical solution that they proposed. Instead, it seems to me like, after hearing the press briefing from the EU Commission, what they said no to was not this solution itself, but rather the 18-month period thing, the fact that it was not ready. But at the same time, the EU Commission also said that it did not meet the privacy and security standards, but not clear what that points to precisely yet.
Out of curiosity, did they also, I need to look at this, the newsroom, did they post something about the China availability as well? I'm guessing no.
No, I don't. I've not seen that. No.
Because this is a thing, they tend to complain loudly about the EU requirements and then quietly do the China stuff. But like
Yeah.
in the keynote, after Craig said like, hey, it's not going to be available in the EU, he also said it's completely unavailable. It's like Siri is completely unavailable in China as well. But there's no press release complaining about the Chinese government.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
interesting.
Oh, my
So,
God. Sorry.
yeah.
Oh, my cat wants to get out.
Well,
Yeah, I think the full story is not before our eyes here. I think it closely resembles what I'm saying more than what they are saying in their press release, Apple. I think it's more like the EU Commission is not having it anymore. They just don't want to give any more exemptions, like whether that's an 18-month delay or a plain exemption. They are not having it, and Apple showing up with a new central OS feature that they're not able to release, and with no interoperability. I think obviously that's not going to go through well with the EU. Like obviously.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of he said, she said, but I do think
Yeah.
it is an interesting thing. Both Apple and the United States government are not used to people saying no to them and like holding their ground. And that is a thing we are starting to experience more and more on both fronts, which is just notable.
Yeah, yeah, definitely what's happening here is that maybe they were not expecting them to say no, is maybe the thing.
Yeah. I don't know.
Or you could have the nefarious interpretation where they were expecting them to say no, and this is just another way for them to push back.
We'll let our listeners decide what they think. I don't know. It's probably a mix. It's probably they want to do things their way. They do want to do. I think they probably have genuine concerns about privacy. They talk about that a lot. They're like, our models compared to the other guys, which we won't name, but are clearly, we're talking about OpenAI and Anthropic and Google. They don't care about privacy. We do. And, I could see why they wouldn't necessarily want OpenAI full access to all of your stuff. But, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I suppose from the EU's point of view, they are giving full access to Google's AI. And that's not a problem to them. From the press briefing that I saw today, it seems like because at some point the spokesperson highlights that. He says, by the way, they have new series powered by AI, and that doesn't seem to bother them. So it seems like it's a point of argument for them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see how this develops, and I'm sure everyone will be happy. It'll be good.
Yeah.
We are running out of time, but I did want to bring up one thing that immediately made me think of Niléane when I saw it come up, which is AirPods now have an equalizer.
Yeah.
Do you have any feelings about this?
What do you think I'm feeling?
I'm guessing skepticism, although some level of excitement.
I could not care less about EQ on AirPods. You know what's actually missing from the Apple's OSs in general, and it looks like it still is is a system-wide EQ. This like if you want to tailor to audio people in general, this is what you want to add. You want to add a system-wide EQ. There's not one on macOS, not on iPadOS, not on iOS either. So this is like a band-aid on something that nobody was asking for. Because why would you EQ your AirPods? Like I don't. They
You could. I mean, there's people who don't like how the new AirPods sound.
Sure, but it's like it doesn't bring anything super exciting to EQ your AirPods of all things. I would like to EQ my fancy headphones when I plug them into my iPhone. Is what I would like to do.
Mm-hmm.
See, so for that I need a system-wide EQ, not AirPods EQ.
Okay. Well, I wildly miscalculated. I thought you'd be excited.
I could not care less. And yeah, I think most people will agree with me. The custom EQ for AirPods will just be fine for people who stumble upon it in settings. Like,
Okay.
Yeah. Nobody's
Okay.
going to look for that. It's just,
I
you
think-
stumble upon that. Oh, that's fun. Okay, fine.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I tried. One thing that is exciting, I think,
Okay.
is Apple stole a feature from Android, which is, at this point, you can just steal it from each other. On Android for a very long time. You know how on the iPhone and iPad and everything, like when you get a text message with a code, it like you go to like if you're in a text
Yeah.
field, it suggests like you should paste this code. For years now, Android has had they do have that, but they also have when you copy something to your clipboard and then you go to a text field or any sort of input, it is the suggested thing. You can just hit a button to paste what you just copied, and it's great. It's lovely.
That's nice.
And Apple added that this year. So if you copy something and then go to copy a URL in Safari and then switch to messages, it will like when you just like open the thread, it'll say like paste from Safari and it'll show a preview of the URL. And it's so good.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah, that's nice. Do we still have time so I can quickly talk about Safari?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Let's bring it home with
So-
Safari.
Let's bring it up with Safari, with the browser podcast. I think it's interesting. I'm curious from afar about what's happening with Safari. So there's that feature we mentioned earlier where you can, looks like vibe code the extensions. I don't know how that works. You can ask Safari to create an extension for you and it will do it. So that's okay. I'm not sure we'll find a use for that, but so the UI, because it's like obviously getting the full liquid glass update treatment updated. So sure, it seems from screenshot that Safari looks a bit nicer compared to Tahoe. So that's one thing. The second thing, I've read from the webkit.org blog post where basically every year when there's a major release of Safari, they detail all the technical improvements, upgrades, new standards that are adopted, the new CSS stuff, blah, 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 the renderer, HTML, etc. But if you look at like some of the performance sections, I'm curious whether that translates to real life or not. They're saying, for instance, that JavaScript performance is massively improved. Like a bunch of technical stuff under the hood is supposed to be massively improved in terms of performance. And they mentioned many times that it should help with web apps. Like they mentioned that by name. Web apps should perform much better in Safari, which is one of like the low points of Safari right now. Is it will not perform well with like more complex web apps, even not that complex web apps such as YouTube. So yeah, yep. So I'm curious from afar. Like I'm very tempted to either install the technology preview on my Mac to check it out because it should have all the under the hood improvements without the UI. Or maybe just upgrade to a developer beta soon rather than later, because it seems that it's fine. It seems that the Golden Gate beta is fine. So
The
I
Golden
might do
Gate
that.
beta has been generally fine for me. One thing I will say is
Yeah.
Xcode. You must use the Xcode beta on Golden Gate,
Yeah, I saw that.
which means I guess you're not distributing through the app stores. That might be okay for you. But for me, it means I cannot use this on my main. This is actually finally the thing that'll make me not install it on my main Mac immediately. But yeah, I think it will be interesting. I actually watched the WebKit developer talk where they talked about here's all the things we did for WebKit, and I do think like he's talked about with the liquid glass, people being like Apple did it right. This is why they've done it perfectly. They'll never do a slider, and then next year they change these things, and now there's a slider, which is very funny. Whenever I complain about Safari, people are like, well, Safari does it right. They don't do it first necessarily, but that's because there's security reasons. They do it best. And it was very funny watching this developer talk where like the head of WebKit at Apple, she's like, yeah, we implemented these things and we did them wrong. We made some mistakes. So thank you for your feedback. And we're fixing them. And we know that we're not as performant as like, Chromium is faster than WebKit at this point. So WebKit, they enjoyed that time at the top, but like they do need to catch up. But it is funny to like, it is always funny, I think, when people say Apple is flawless and what Apple's doing right now is exactly what they should be doing, and then Apple themselves is like, yeah, we screwed up, guys. We're working on it. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's very funny to me.
We can officially say, Matt, that Apple has agreed with us with all our tests on
Apple-
Safari.
Absolutely, Apple always agrees with us,
Yeah.
especially
They
on Safari.
agree that Safari sucks and should be dealt with. Like this. They have to
It
do
should be
something.
dealt with appropriately.
Assassinated is what I no, no.
Okay. Okay. We're just saying it.
No. No, I would like Safari to be good.
It should be good.
I'm fond
I
of
would honestly
Safari.
like to use Safari.
Yeah. I'm sad
just-
not to be using it. Like I will say.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
All right.
I think that's it.
See
There's-
you. I predict right now, maybe in 2028, Siri
Mhm.
AI will be in some way available in the EU or something, and I will review that in that time. So
Okay.
yeah,
Mark your calendars, people.
yeah. I will review it 3 years later, 5 years. I don't know, maybe 10 years.
Okay. Well, that will be fun. And by then, Comfort Zone will be, I don't know, on the moon or something. That's too far away to even think about. So,
On Titan.
yeah. Ooh, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be a new spatial environment on the Vision Pro. I didn't even get to talk about that. You can make panoramic photos, environments on your Vision Pro. I wasn't able to do that because it
Nobody
took me.
cares. Nobody cares. It's okay.
It took me an hour to install the update on the Vision Pro. I was going to do it before we did this recording this morning, but it took forever. So
I was
wasn't able to do it.
surprised that they spent so much time about Vision OS in the keynote. Like
Yeah,
somehow they want people to know it's there.
they're not running away from it yet. So, anyway, this podcast is actually almost as long as the keynote itself, which was very short. So, thank you for doing this weird episode of Comfort Zone where there's two, but kind of three. Now 2 of us again. We didn't go over topics. We didn't do a challenge. We'll be back to normal next week. But
Yeah.
anything you wanted to plug this time outside of Tiny
What
Start, which will now be
do
linked
I
below?
want? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I saw. So again, we already said this earlier in an earlier show, but some people have been mentioning me on Mastodon because they saw the keynote and they're like, "Oh no, they're adding AI to my Spotlight." But thankfully, thanks to Tiny Starts, I will have a launcher without AI. So sure, if that's a way for you to try out Tiny Start, you should.
It's a great reason to try out Tiny Start. Everyone should try out Tiny Start.
Yeah, and apparently it runs well on the beta 1. So I've been told.
Nice. Okay. Well, that's it for us. Thank you for listening. It's Mac Stories Podcast. You know the deal. And we'll see you here next time. Bye-bye.
Yes, bye bye.